All right. Hello and welcome back to my channel. This is a new series that I am starting called Kitchen Energy, and it's basically a way for me to bring what I do into the kitchen, or sorry, oh my gosh, bring what I do in the kitchen to you. If you've followed me on my other social media, then you know that I have an Instagram, and that's where I started, and that's where a lot of my clips and videos of what I like to cook in the kitchen, that's where all those things reside. Um, and so now that I'm trying to launch and grow my YouTube channel, I want to make sure that I am creating content that is different and unique, so I can just grow this channel. And my Instagram won't be where I have most of those full length videos anymore. And so, yeah, I thought of this idea when I kind of was just sitting around thinking of like, I was drafting an episode for another YouTube video that I'm going to put out soon. And I was like, I like having the podcast, people get to know me in a different way, but I don't want to lose like the thing that brought me here in the first place, and that's food and that's cooking. And so I was like, okay, what is a way I could kind of bring in what I do um, to, to this platform. So I was just thinking, and I was like, oh, I love cooking shows. I love Chopped is one of my favorite cooking shows. Um, and I just kind of love that vibe. And I think it's a way you can still tell a story while showing people what you're making. And so, yeah, that's my little spiel. Um, and I am recovering from a cold, so I sound congested, and I've been fighting this bug for like a week and a half, it seems like now. I actually was so excited about the content and I wanted to post yesterday, last week, but obviously I got sick, and so I had to wait, and my throat has finally come back. But if you hear me kind of muffled, or if you hear me coughing or anything like that, or if you just notice that there's gaps or heavy cuts in the video, that is why. Um, but yeah, so anyways, without further ado, let's get right into this episode. So for this episode, I am making a leftover stock chicken breast soup. Um, Another thing to mention about this series is I'm always going to include a leftover item. I love cooking with leftovers. I think it's such a great way to not waste food and to just reuse the flavors that you've made in other meals. Sometimes I even use leftovers from like something I ate out and then I incorporate it into a new meal. There's just so much creativity and so many ideas you get from cooking leftovers. I'm such a huge advocate for it. So this is like a combination of multiple like dishes that I've made over time, like the leftovers of like basically like the vegetable scraps. And I've done this before, which is why this bag is bigger and more intentional. The first bag I did, I literally just had onion peels because I don't know, I just kept forgetting every time I cooked other food, but this time I was intentional. And this stock includes some broccoli, onions, as you can see, carrots that I used at one time. There might be some squash buds in there. I know I'm blanking on some other stuff until like I see it. Oh, there was also a rotisserie chicken that I had got from a grocery store, but I basically just put it in a pot so that I can defrost it. a little bit and to help get the stock going. So I just put some water, cover it up, and then just let the heat kind of just do its thing. And then once I let that go, or get that started, I want to start working on my other ingredients. For the soup, I kept it really simple. I just did onion, celery, carrots, and ginger. I like to soak my veggies before I cook with them. I heard also somewhere that like when you soak things, like it can enhance the flavors or kind of just enhance like the vegetable itself because the water kind of gets into it. I don't know the science of it. I'm not even gonna lie to you, but I heard it and it just confirmed what I was already doing. So I was like, sure, yeah. Now I'm going to work with the chicken breast. So I had already taken that out and it thawed. So thankfully, I didn't have to defrost it in any other way. And so I just wanted to cook my chicken breast very simply. Um, like I just cut it up into cubes. It's already been washed and all that stuff. And yeah, I just chopped it up into cubes. That will kind of be how I utilize the chicken. So now the stock has come to a boil, which is really exciting to see. Um, so yeah, I'm just gonna keep that going for about an hour. And while I'm doing that, I'm going to prep my chicken some more. I had some leftover, I had some eggplant that I had made the week prior, and it came out so salty. So in a food processor, and I didn't capture this, which I'm kind of kicking myself for, but in a food processor, I took eggplant. I took a little bit of ginger since I'm already putting the ginger in the soup. I didn't want to overpower the dish, but I put a little bit of ginger. I seasoned it with some of my favorite seasonings, like, you know, your basic salt. I use like a bouillon seasoning. Um, and then I put some onion in there as well. And I also added some lime. Yeah, so that's basically what this marinade is. It's on the thicker side, which is not exactly what I was looking for. But I mean, hey, what do you expect when you're, blending eggplant and onion? And as you can see, the stock has come to like a really nice boil. Everything's for the most part separated. Ooh, I put a bell pepper in there. Um, And so I just love how it's just doing its thing. You can see the color has changed, the consistency of the stock. You can see that it's starting to get a little bit on the thicker side. Not too thick, obviously, but you can see that it's changed from just like the water. And so that's always a good sign. And I was cooking this meal when I was under the weather. So anytime I cook when I'm sick, I try to just be extra safe because usually my family likes to eat the food that I make as well. So for this meal, I put on my mask, and most importantly, you want to get some disposable spoons so that when you're tasting, you can throw them away right after, just so that you're still tasting your food, but in a safe and healthy way. And so once my stock, it's been boiling for about an hour at this point, and so now it's ready to drain, um, and to kind of filter out the water and separate it from all of the vegetable scraps. I just let that sit to the side. And in the same crock pot, after I transferred the stock out of it, I am now sauteing the chicken. And so I put a little bit of oil just to kind of help get the chicken going, but the main thing that's going to help this chicken not stick to the pan is water. So I like to add some water to the pan, or sorry, water to the pot to kind of help play with the stickiness. And now that the chicken is sauteing, it's a great time to start working on cutting up the vegetables that have been soaking. So I just cut my ginger into small pieces. I cut my carrot and celery into similar sized pieces. And so you kind of missed the transition because I did not film the transition. But when the chicken finished cooking, I took that out and then I added in the veggie mixture. I added that into the pot and started sauteing it a little bit. And the main thing is just to kind of caramelize it and to get some of those juices out before we kind of like put everything all together. Once the veggies have been caramelized, it's time to put the chicken back in there. If you can get your chicken to be cooked about 75% of the way, because it's going to cook some more while it's one here sauteing with the vegetables, but it's also going to cook more when when it's boiling in the pot as the soup altogether. So you can cook your chicken to about 75% of the way through, or if you just want to be extra safe, just cook it fully through and then you can add it in later after you bring your pot back to a boil for the actual soup. And so now it's time to put the stock in. I love this part because it's literally just bringing it all together. Look at that color. Look at how beautiful everything is just coming together. You could just see that it seasons nicely. And throughout this whole time, especially after the chicken is cooked, it's when you kind of want to start tasting um, your soup and kind of seeing, should I add some more salt? Does it need some more pepper? Do we want it spicy? That's when I would start kind of tasting for the seasonings and things like that. But yeah, so once you put the soup in there, it's basically like you're running towards home plate at that point. I would say you would just have everything boiled together for maybe another like 15, maybe 20 minutes. And that might even be on the long side. It all depends kind of on if your protein's cooked. So I left it in the pot and I just brought it back to a boil and then just adjusted the seasonings to my liking. And now it is ready to serve as is. So again, another last minute thing I did was I made some noodles because again, I wanted to bring my chicken noodle soup dream to life. And so I was like, okay, let me get my noodles. I just kind of got any packet of noodles that I had and I just boiled them separately. And it didn't take too long. Noodles cook fairly fast. So I got that going really quick and then I topped it with my soup. And then, of course, especially because I was sick, I wanted to put some lime in there. The lime was kind of hard, so I had to. Oh, you saw a little bit of drops, but after I put the phone down, I squeezed the heck out of that, like squeeze it.
I also cut some cilantro, and as you can see, I left those big tree stems in there. So apologies in advance. I know there's gonna be some maybe cilantro heads in the comments who are like, "That's not how you do the cilantro. You should dice it more." Honestly, I was just being very lazy, and yeah, by this time my cough was like ranking up. And I personally don't really mind. I love cilantro. I can be such a lazy eater. So things like stems and stuff like that don't really bother me too much. So I wasn't too phased by the cilantro stems. But I understand for presentation's sake, it's probably not the prettiest. So I'll probably be docking some points there. Um, and yeah, after I add my toppings, I am pretty much done with the dish. Of course, I gotta catch my little pictures outside, take some pics for the gram. But yeah, this was a really fun dish to make. I was really happy about utilizing the scraps that I had in the freezer. And yeah, I was really excited to just record it and now share it with you all. So, with the video wrapped up, let's move on to the rankings. So, this is something new that I wanted to do. And I also think it's just a really good way for me to, just be accountable and learn and grow in my cooking. So, The rankings, I added five different categories. One is aesthetic, which is pretty self explanatory. The second one is technique, which is basically how I made the dish, and if I utilize any special techniques or how good was my process. The third one is creative. How creative was my dish, and the taste, of course, which is something you probably can't really judge with me unless you were eating the meal. So, um, yeah, that might be something that's a little bit biased and skewed. And the last one, tutorial, is basically just how well did I present this video to you. So for aesthetic, I gave myself a 9 out of 10. I was really happy with how the dish looked. It was really pretty, a lot of colors. The soup looked really nice. And so, yeah, I was really proud to give myself a high score there. For technique, I gave myself a 6 out of 10. I feel like I could have definitely done better with some of like the knife cuts. I feel like I overcooked the chicken a little bit too much. As you can see in the end, it probably looked a little bit dry. It didn't taste as dry, but yeah, just in a better on a better day, I would have taken, a better time and focused more on making my protein really nice. Um, for creativity, I gave myself a 7 out of 10. The dish was fairly simple, but I'm kind of just giving myself creativity points for utilizing those scraps. I was I was pretty proud about that, especially because I collected it over time. Again, I wish that I dated it so I could know how long I've been collecting the scraps, but I was pretty proud that the broth came out really nice from all of those leftovers. And then also the eggplant. Repurposing those eggplants was a win for me because I was so disappointed when I made them and they were so salty. So being able to repurpose them, I pat myself on the back. For taste, I give myself 9 out of 10. And that's not just bias for me because, to be honest with you, my taste buds and my smell is like not even here. So I couldn't even tell you if it really tasted good, but my family loved it, especially my sister. She loves like chicken noodle soup, she loves pasta and stuff like that, and she really enjoyed it. Everyone said it was really good. For tutorial, this is my lowest ranking. I'm giving myself a 4 out of 10, and probably I should give myself a lower score. As you know, there's definitely some things in the video that I didn't even include, and I kind of I had to tell you what I did, which is not a very good, practice for something like a visual tutorial. Um, and yeah, also there's just I this is my first video, so it's just very rough on the edges, and so yeah, I'm sure you could let me know in the comment section what I could have improved on, what you want to see, and things like that. After calculating all of those individual scores, I came up with an average score of 7 out of 10. Not too bad, especially for a first video. I'm pretty happy with it. It was fun to make. And again, let me know if you want to see anything more in specific in future videos. Alright, and that is all for this video. Again, if you want to follow me on my other social media channels, check me out here. I Here's my card, my digital card that has my website, my social media, and then my email if you want to contact me in the future. But other than that, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.